there. Okay. Some great questions over the break and some great points. This is not the most secure way to go, but I'd be willing to bet that it's a lot more secure than anything most people are using here at this point, and it should be fine. You could get very, very secure. I'm going to show you how in a minute to get even more secure. But remember, part of this was easy and consistent. Obviously, the most secure would be a unique password everywhere you go, but then like Mary that has to change her password every 3 months, you end up writing it down. And there's some inherent flaws in that too. We're going to go over a few of the there's some password maker rememberer programs, and I'm holding off on those a little bit myself because Apple's starting to make a really good solution for that. So again, I'm just going to recap quickly. A base password. We pretty much realized this wasn't exactly how we wanted it, but I just wanted to display it that way. A password with a suffix, but more realistically, we want a password probably with a prefix instead, because it does your capital letter, it does it unique, and then probably add some special characters. And again, instead of using Mac or something, you could use a key combo, but just don't use a word that's in the dictionary because you're kind of giving them already a bit of a head start, so to speak. Okay? So,
one question, excuse me. If you're using like a word that has 2 S's in it and are using the dollar signs for the S's, which kills 2 birds with 1 stone, is that, they verify that even though it is a word in the dictionary, but you're using...
No, that wouldn't come up as a word in the dictionary.
Yeah, okay.
And if it's the word apple, instead of using, well, the 2 P's wouldn't be it. Russell, let's say.
Yeah.
And you use 2 S's and you use the dollar sign, well, it's no longer Russell. It's RU $ELL. So, and the L's could be 1s.
Yeah.
All right. Apple has built in a password generator now. Now, I was logging in to verify that my automatic payments were on for my American Express card two nights ago. This was actually a screenshot from my iPad. And it said, and luckily, and this, I used the one after this, which you don't see, so you could write this down all you want, but you're not getting into my American Express account. You can't go make payments for me on my American Express account. You want to do that? I'll give you the password. Trust me. ZET-NX. So it came up with this, and it was great because I wanted an example of what Apple can do with this. And so I'm in Safari on my iPad, and I had used my new protocol on my American Express account. For some reason, it wasn't letting me get in. And I actually think it was because I never really registered it online. I think I did it. It was the Costco American Express card, and I probably did some sort of username or something there when I did it. Anyway, so I said, let it go ahead and create a password for me. Well, it suggested this, and I said, you know what, let's use that. It's very secure. Now, I was a little concerned that I may have to enter. So the beauty of this is it's virtually a perfect password. That can be cracked, but good luck, because you got uppercase, lowercase, letters, numbers, dashes. And there's the only thing missing there is special characters, and I think they probably do that on purpose. Well, the dash is actually a special character. So I said, let it use this suggested password. And the beauty of this is it then stored it in my iCloud keychain. We're going to discuss what an iCloud keychain is in a minute because we're going to talk about the keychain first. So I wanted to just point this out in my slideshow. I did a screenshot of it, went the real one, which is the next picture that's probably on my iCloud by now. But anyway, because I thought if I ever have to remember. The problem with using these suggested passwords, and these are what like LastPass and Dashlane and 1Password, they make these really secure passwords, But if you have to log in from somebody else's computer, good luck ever remembering these passwords. So this no longer, we had 3 criteria: easy, secure, and memorable. This only fits one of those criteria, which is secure. Okay? But Apple is taking it and making it so you may not have to remember it, but there's a risk involved with that. So I'm just wanting to point that out. But this is very secure. Go ahead.
Did Heartbleed get into these passwords that are in the iCloud?
So the question is, did Heartbleed get into it? I've not found any incidents where they've shown that Heartbleed actually got anything. Heartbleed. Heartbleed was a virus. Well, excuse me, not a virus. Heartbleed was a thing that, in theory, could go in and get usernames and passwords. But the amount of data it could get at any one shot was so small it might get partial usernames, partial passwords. It's been proven in theory that it could have happened. It's great that it was addressed. Apple never was one of the ones that it could have affected. Some parts of Google accounts could have got affected, but it sounds like nobody really got affected by this, and they made some changes. But I got to tell you, I'll do the Heartbleed slideshow if we have time at the end. I think Heartbleed was good because it's the reason I decided to do this class, and it's the reason that a lot of people went and changed their passwords. And so therefore, while it had a possible vulnerability, it made most of the people a lot safer. And what it was basically, it was an open, so, you know, you've been trained to use the pad, to make sure when you do credit cards or something, there's a padlock on the website that it's secure and things. Somehow, when they wrote that code, it was all open source. There was this little vulnerability that nobody put in there on purpose. It just happened to be there, and somebody found out, oh, it's there. They went through to the big providers and said, hey, you guys better go change this before we tell everybody that you need to go secure this. And so all the big providers went there and made the changes first. So anyway, no, I haven't heard. Has anybody heard of any fallout from Heartbleed? I mean, it was big news. If it bleeds, it breeds. If it bleeds, it reads. Isn't that what it is? Or if it bleeds, it leads in the news. Well, Heartbleed didn't seem to have bled on anybody. So anyway, these are just suggested passwords. I just wanted to show you what one looks like. And this is the Heartbleed, which this is the sites. This was saying some of the different things that were affected. I have a link to this during my Heartbleed presentation. Well, you just go to bgr.com, Boy Genius Report. It's a great site for different things like that. So basically, it's these sites, what to do about it. And at this point, it really seems to be a non-issue. So I wouldn't necessarily worry about it. And any new people here that haven't joined yet, this is the best deal for $40 you can get. Come to a couple more classes if you like it. We always encourage you. Our membership is about 600 strong. This October, the club will be 30 years old. So I think that's great. I didn't join 30 years ago. Gail McGovern started us 30 years ago, and that was actually, you remember the Mac was introduced in January. She started MacNexus in that October. And you know, user groups are what you used to have to do passwords weren't a big deal, but that's how you had to learn to use programs and stuff back then. So tell your friends too, because inevitably as we get more and more people on the Mac, you become the tech support for them. Send them to triage, tell them to come to the classes and things like that so you can have more time solving your own problems. So, all right. Key change. So passwords and key change. So everybody's kind of got the base thing. Hey, if you choose to use it, fine. To me, it's just an elegant solution to a very perplexing problem. So I'm going to go in. Now, everybody's gone in and say, how many here are not Mac users? Just iOS, okay? All right. So I'm going to show you some things on the Mac, but it applies to the iOS too. But we'll dig into the iOS, but it's going to be easier for me to display it on the Mac, but the same thing pretty much holds true. You go to a website and it says, enter your password and username. And it asks you if you want to save it. And convenience says save it. Security says don't. But you know what? This is a pretty safe call. Because as long as you have control of your computer and you tell it you can remember it, it's going to make it get into that site easier, so you don't have to remember the password because it remembers it for you. Now, the majority of bank websites, and I'm surprised my American Express said okay to save a password, but the majority of the higher security sites won't allow Safari or the iOS device to save the password. And that's for your own protection. They'll usually save a username, which helps because most of the time they don't let you use an email address for a username. So along with remembering passwords, you have to remember a username. And a username is unique. You know, you couldn't, if you just try to do your first name, there's a bunch of other people that tried to use their first name and somebody's already got it. So a username needs to be unique within, say, Wells Fargo or one of those. So that's why an email address we know is unique because nobody else has your email address. Alfreda?
Yeah, when, say you ask it to save your information,
Uh-huh.
but then you find out you made a mistake.
Saved it wrong? Yeah, so the keychain, let's talk about keychain for a second. And I try to give an analogy of this is, let's say there's an apartment complex. And every apartment, let's forget master keys for a second. Every apartment has a key. And the manager has a box on the wall that has all the keys in it, right? And that manager has a key to that box. So the manager doesn't have to carry around every single key to every apartment to open these. They simply say, oh, 2A, goes down to the key box, and hopefully they're filed correctly, and grabs the key to 2A and goes up and can get into 2A, right? But not just anybody can get into that box because the box itself has a different key that only the manager has. So passwords are keys, and if you look at every password, they always talk about it being like a key. So your computer, now the cloud and your iOS device, store your passwords in this manager's key box. And if you need to get in there, you've probably had it come up on your screen that says, I want to use your keychain. I want to get into the manager's key box and get a key out. It wants your computer password, not the password of the site you're going to or anything else. It wants to use your password for your computer, your manager's key. Some of us don't have a password on our Mac. It requires it once you start storing credit cards and stuff in here. So again, that concept is there's a receptacle that stores all your passwords, and to get in there, you have to have authorized access to your computer. Now, I know in Safari, a lot of times it'll just autofill the password and the username without you having to put a password in there. That's okay because you implicitly gave it permission to store that for you. Let's try do an example. I'll try do gmail.com. So it automatically logs in because it's remembered my password. And if I log out, oops, I don't want Google Plus. It's going away, by the way. Where is my sign out? So if I'm signed out, because I had been logged into it, so now if I go to gmail.com, oh, come on. It's probably a bad example because I have this. If I just click here, so there it is. It fills in my username, but it's asking me for my password, and it's not auto-filling here because I had logged out. Okay? Same thing with Amazon. So it's, let's see here.
Did you say your email password should be?
No, if you use the protocol, it should be okay. But again,
But you said you don't, oh, okay.
no, but if you don't want to make any other changes anywhere else, at least change your email password to something that's robust and unique. Okay? Now look at this. I just logged into my Gmail. I'm glad this came up. We talked about two-factor authentication. verify your mobile number. Let me get reflector going here. There we go. So it says, so I have tied my mobile number with my Gmail account. So I'm logging into my Gmail account and it wants to make sure it's me. Someone could have got my password. So now it says send verification code. Look at that. And I don't care if you see that because it's a one-time only code, 854687. Verify.
687.
Oops, thank you. Jeez. Would have been funny if it worked the other way. There, that's me in. But I stayed logged in all the time, but that's the beauty of two-factor authentication. I have at one point registered my phone with that as, and Apple offers two-factor authentication now too. So you can't get much more secure than that because you could have my email password, but if you don't have my phone and able to enter that code, and that code is unique and it changes every time. Go ahead.
You're recording this, right?
Yes. But that's okay. You can have that password. You can have that because it's unique.
If you have Safari save credit card info or passwords, and someone hacks your computer, and they get all those?
They don't get your credit card, but they can buy something with your credit card at that site. So let's talk about the difference. The question is, if you have Safari save your credit cards,
Or passwords?
yes, or passwords. If someone gets your computer, can they get that information? Yes. So therefore, you should have your computer password protected also. And it does not need to be as robust. And you got to remember, though, we also, with our iOS devices and everything now, is we can shut our stuff down remotely with iCloud. So I'm not at risk on my iPad or my iPhone because if it gets lost or stolen, I can tell it to erase it. I can put a screen lock on it. I can do everything like that. And it's gotten so good now, believe me, if you lose your iPhone and someone gets it and you have the secure part of it on there, they cannot activate it no matter what they do. They can't wipe it. Apple can't do it. Nobody. If they don't have your Apple ID password. So the idea is Apple's trying to make sure that people find this out because now your phone has no resale value. That's why if you go to Gazelle or one of these places where they're going to buy your phone from you, they say, have you unlocked, have you turned off Find My iPhone? Because you have to turn it off because the thief can't turn it off any longer. You have to have your Apple ID password to turn off Find My iPhone, and that's the only way that they can do the phone with a new activation.
So if police arrest somebody and take their iPhone and try to swipe it of information, they can't get it?
I didn't say. Sure. Question was if police get an iPhone and they swipe it. I'm not sure yet. Indications were they couldn't, but they're not talking about that. Believe me, if anybody would protect it that way, it would be Apple. You know, this is a whole other thing that's come up, and it's just recently in the Supreme Court, and I follow this stuff a lot. They can compel you to, if you have so they can look in your iPhone. And that's borderline unconstitutional because all of our information is in there these days. And believe me, I'm very, very much under the constitutional end of it. But that's why it's also important to have a passcode on there. And its indications are it would be very difficult for them. Now, you know, there's some very good people working on that stuff. So basically, you'd probably just go to the NSA and ask for the information that was passed. But they can compel you to unlock your phone, but what's to say that you can't say, I don't remember what my passcode is. And actually, you can set your passcode, I don't recommend it, you can set it with 10 misentries or 3 misentries of your passcode, it wipes your phone. So.
I don't think I have anything.
Well, but once the police don't want your credit card and everything else, but the idea is in the case where it's a credit card or something like that. But you know what? I mean, this has so much, and we're going to have more and more stuff in this. Our health records are going to start to be on here and things like that. So it's knowing that it's there, it's fine. So that I can remotely find my phone, I can remotely erase it. But they can't even turn it off now, too.
Well, so there's a kid whose phone was stolen,
Uh-huh.
and the stealer had his phone at his house. So this kid calls his own phone, finds out when he did find my phone, and went over and
Does everybody... Just
punched him in the nose and grabbed his phone back.
well, yeah. So I'm going to sign into my... Oh, see? Look at what came up. It says it wants to use my password, so I'll say always allow.
So that's Safari, not Keychain.
Safari's using Keychain.
I'm supposed to check, keep me signed in. Can I ask her?
Yeah, I can, but it still logs out after a certain time. There was things. So if I go to find my iPhone, let's see, one of my iPads is at home. I think it's off. So I logged into my iCloud, and oh, look at this! I have 3 Apple devices right about where we are. There's all my devices. Let's see, is my other iPad Mini? Oh, my other iPad Mini is at home. It's off, so it's not on here. So here's my.
Does your wife have your password?
I don't. No, because I'm not married.
Yeah.
And I'm not too big. I don't have any. It's like you. I don't really feel I have anything that I need to hide. Let's see. If I go to my iPad, well, let's go to my iPhone. So I've got my iPhone on silent, so I don't get bugged by another phone call again, right? So I've got it on silent because inevitably, well, which car did I leave it in? Is it in the sofa cushion, or is it in the pile of laundry? Well, I don't know. I call my phone. It doesn't ring because I've got it on silent. So if I go here and I'm in, it's on silent. This is why you never turn your phone off. You put it to sleep and it'll go for 2 minutes.
And that's
But also, did I leave it at the store? No, it's sitting here right at St. Mark's Church. It shows me where it is. Okay? I had a client. It'll ping for a while. And the best part is it even shows you the battery level. I was at a client's house, and they said, oh, we need to go find my iPhone. We were doing some other stuff. And he said, by the way, I can't find my phone. I says, well, what's your Apple ID? So we signed in, and I looked at it, and the damn battery was almost to 0. So I said, real quick. So we did it. And we went down a flight of stairs out because it showed it was at their house somewhere, and it looked like it was out in the driveway. So we went out to the driveway, and so we see, okay, it's in this car, not that car. And then she got in the driver's side, I got in the passenger side, and we're hearing it binging. And it's like, I thought it was on her side, she thought it was on my side, and it actually had fallen between the seats and was so far down in the console, between the seats, you couldn't see it. And it's pinging. And finally we got it out of there. So I'm going, man, battery's like 1%. So we got upstairs. As I'm plugging it in to charge it, the phone dies. So if I'd have been 5 minutes later, she probably would have never found the phone until she went and had the car detailed. So, but you can also lock the phone if you go into lost mode. I'm locked with a key combination already. Now, you can also erase the phone, but don't erase the phone except for a last resort, because if you erase the phone, you will no longer be able to track it. But if you do erase the phone with the iCloud, you can come back and restore all your information to it. Okay?
Does that work on, Find My iPhone apparently works on iPads too?
Sure.
I didn't know that.
Here's my Mini.
The phone. So it works on your computer?
Yeah, the computer, it'll show you where it is.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you have to Find My Mac on. So there's my MacBook Pro. All right, so that was you go to iCloud for that, and you have an app on your device. So back to the passwords and keychain, and we were in. So it remembered you saw it filled in my password there. So let Safari store it, and if I go to Safari Preferences on my Mac, here are my passwords, right? So if I go to,
So they look encrypted, is that?
they're hidden. So now, okay, so I'm clicking on, I don't even know what this site is. Biz to blah, blah, blah. So if I click here, it's now asking me for the key, the manager's key to the box, right? So there is that password for that particular site. Okay, that's within Safari and that's autofill.
What was the password you had to type in order to get that?
My computer password.
Oh, like when you're installing new.
Exactly, when you're installing, and sometimes you won't have one there, but this would be a reason to have a password in there. Okay, now let me demonstrate the same thing. Hang on one sec, Charles. Let me go and do the same thing on the iPad. If I go to Settings and come on down to Safari, and the beauty of this is, if I did a new site over here and stored that password, it'll be over here. So if I go to Passwords and Autofill, and I go down to Saved Passwords, what was that? App to, let's see if it's, oh, Biz, it's the second one here. There I'm going to it. I'm putting in now, it's asking for my it's asking me for my little 4-digit code that I have on my iPad. And there's the password. I never went to that site on this iPad, but the keychains have been synced via the cloud. So just like that American Express one that I did here will show up here. And I'm not going to show you that one. So again, let's go back one step. The keychain is the repository where our passwords are stored on our Mac or on our iPad or our iPhone. But the beauty of it is if you enable it via iCloud, all of my keychains from my different devices sync with one another. So therefore, if I go in fact, let's say I change my Gmail password and I go into gmail.com. Well, that's not a good example because it's going to get confused with mail. Let's say I change my Amazon password. It's going to change it in my keychain. So I go to Amazon, I log into Amazon, change my Amazon password. Here's what you need to do is, when you do your new password, log out, sign out, then sign back in while you remember the new password and tell it to remember your new password, and it will update the password in keychain. And that updated password will propagate down to all your devices. And now if I go to Amazon.com on my iPad, it would fill in with my new password. Who didn't I lose?
So that means you're using the cloud
Yes.
for all of this.
Well, you don't have to. It can be on your device. You can choose to use iCloud password or not. But believe me, the iCloud is very secure. Apple and Google, even Microsoft, spend a ton of money on their security. And you got to remember, if they spend $20 million on security, that's an investment for them in marketing, because they would lose $2 billion worth of goodwill and publicity if they got hacked. So they look at that as an investment they can justify, is to make sure they're really secure. Charles?
How do you get into keychain?
I'm going to show you how to get into keychain two ways. This was Safari on the iPad and Safari here. But I recommend treat keychain as a read-only situation. I do not want you going in and modifying anything in the keychain. That's why I said, instead of going into Amazon and putting in your new password in the keychain, log out of the site, log back in, because then you know it works, and then tell it to remember it in the keychain. It'll say update. So let's go in here, and if I go to, so the way I find keychain is, the little magnifying glass in the upper right, is I click on, and then on the iOS device, it's within Safari. There's no real keychain application.
What if
It's
you don't
within,
use Safari?
on your iPad?
On your iPad, okay, I meant your home computer.
Why don't you use Safari?
It's slower than,
What operating
Chrome.
system are you running?
Chrome, the latest ones.
Okay. Well, Chrome will start. Chrome has access to your keychain. I don't. Chrome actually will put a hot. Safari. The newest Safari is faster than Chrome.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'll go back and
But Chrome's very good. The thing with Chrome is if Chrome's running, it uses tremendous more system resources. But the newest Safari is fantastic. But Chrome can access your keychain.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to just go up to the spotlight here, the little magnifying glass, and I'm going to type KEYC, and look at that, my top hit, keychain. So I'm going to hit return or enter. What was your question there?
Wouldn't you go to settings, iCloud, and then check the box next to keychain?
On the Mac or on the iOS?
On both.
I went into it on the iPad. I just went to settings Safari, and then passwords and autofill, and then saved passwords. Okay? And on my Mac, I first of all just went to the Safari and went to preferences, and then I went to passwords, and that showed them. But this right here that I'm showing you in Safari is also in keychain. And that's what we're doing here. This be part 3. So the keychain, because you have certain applications on the Mac that can store passwords. See, on the iOS device, the application stores the password too, but we don't have access to the keychain on the iOS device yet.
If I go to iCloud,
Uh-huh.
go to settings, and then click iCloud, there's...
That's to turn it on and off is all.
Right.
Okay. That is, hang on here. Yeah, let me go on the screen. We'll get it on the screen. If I go down to iCloud and keychain.
Right, that's right.
So and it's a great question. So what she's asking is what is this? This is saying, I want my keychains to sync via the iCloud. Remember that password I showed you? That I had gotten to originally on here, but it went over to my iPad. It synced to my iPad. So this is saying, let my keychain sync, and nobody can give me a compelling reason why I wouldn't let it. If you think it's security, that's fine, but believe me, Apple is very secure. And they do encrypt it when they're sending it over the cloud. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. I noticed that your usernames are really different. Is that for security as well?
No, I have another life that the book Sybil.
Because, I mean, if I had definitely usernames, I'd have to design them.
Well, but it autofills, and that's a good point. So my usernames, what I try to do is use my email address as my username, but like on the bank and stuff, they don't allow it. So I try to use KSPEN, KSPEN, because the username is not, it can adjust your secureness, but, the username's kind of out in the clear. But many sites already might have a KSPEN, so I got to put a 9 in there or do something like that to make it unique. But for the most part, the best part of having it save things is it saves your username. So even the bank websites will save your username, because that way you don't have to remember it too. But by default, probably use your one of your most common email addresses, and again, it stresses the point, don't have a different email address or have a different password for your email. But yeah, that's just by happenstance. It's not part of any grand scheme. So if I go to keychain access, and we'll go down to, so that one was what, Aptology or something, APT. So I'm using this search up in the upper right. There it is. So I just took all those passwords I had, 319 items, right? I got 319 passwords. So I'm going to go up here to this keychain, and I put in AP. Remember, some of those passwords are like Wi-Fi, like we just entered the Wi-Fi for here, and now that's in your keychain. So when you come here again, you won't have to enter the password for this Wi-Fi again. It'll remember it. So don't think that it's that unique. So there it is again. So it was the second one, I think, and I don't know. See, one's capitalized, no skins. One's capital, one's not. So if I double click on this, there is information. I can put comments in here, and I can see them, but my password doesn't show up until I click show password, and now it says, oh, we got to go get the manager. go get the manager and get the manager's key, and then I use my login for my computer, and there it shows that password. Okay? So it's hidden there, and then you do it. Now I could adjust this here, but don't do it. Because if I do it wrong here and I go to that website again, it's going to throw in the wrong password. So what I do is I would go to the website, change my password, log out, log in with my new password and say, and now it used to say, do you want to update keychain or something? Now it says update. Before it would just say save to keychain. It says, oh, well, this is a different password than what I have on keychain. Do you want to update your password? And you would say yes. In the old days, we would have 6 different versions of the same website in keychain with a progressive amount of passwords, and you'd go get the password from 2010 instead of the password from 2012. Let it do the work for you. I mean, it's really just let it do it, and remember, passwords are not going to be as much of an issue for us if we have a protocol that works well for us. Go ahead, Charles.
References you have to save the keychain.
In Safari, okay, yeah, good question. So
What was it?
I'll repeat it. So in Safari, do you have to go into preferences to tell it to save to keychain? For a while we did, and now it's on by default, but let me show you how to do it because this is critical in Safari if you want to let it be convenient for you. You go up to Safari, come down to preferences, and then across here, we go to autofill, and you select usernames and passwords. And that means let Safari save your usernames and passwords, but it still won't save it for most bank websites. Okay? So to prove that, I'm going to go to wellsfargo.com, or to hopefully prove it. See, it didn't even fill in my username there. Oh, see, it is keeping it. I think, so what happened is Safari in Mavericks has made it more secure about saving your usernames and your passwords because they require, now that, I used to not have a password on my computer. Now that I've put a password on my computer, it will save more things. So it did fill in my username and my password. And to me, that's fine.
And you're not afraid of putting your credit card number
In here? No, I'm not afraid of putting my credit card number in here because I'd rather have this store my credit card than Pizza Hut. And that's my thoughts there. And here, so let me see if I can go to a website that would need credit card. Best place to go in the world if you need cables for anything. Oh man, their prices are incredible. So let's just. And actually, they're a perfect example. This is a very reputable company. They've been acquired by Amazon. They got their credit card numbers hacked. I've always used PayPal with them, thank goodness. But now, if I use the fill-in security card from here, it will, I don't have to keep it with them. I keep it in my Mac. Let's see if it does it here. Let's see, proceed to checkout. I don't need this thing, I already got it. So like in this case, I'm going to checkout, and I'll continue. If I heard this thing, I'll have to cancel it really quick. Okay, our internet's here a little slow because we got a bunch of people on it. But like I say, I use PayPal with them because they only get my PayPal thing. Okay, so by the way, look at how they're overnight shipping. It gets here in one day, or overnight for big stuff, $5.85. I don't want to use PayPal. I want to go. Oh, see, that's my preferred. Let's go back to payment. See, I've kept that as my preferred, unfortunately. God. Anyway, it'll get to the credit card screen. And it'll say, do you want to fill in with your credit card? Let's just. Yeah. Well, now I don't want to go into an account because I want to do an order. So let me get rid of that. Let's go find a case for an iPhone. What the heck? So I'll add $9.20 to my cart. I should have done a screenshot for you guys. I bet it's going to do the same thing again. Payment information changed. There we go. So use a new credit card. See, I don't have a credit card on file with them. So I'll click Visa. Look at that. And I can add or remove credit cards right from there. So what will happen is this just saves me from typing it in. But when I type it in, it still asks me for the CVV code on the back of the card. So the person that could get into your computer is still going to need your CVV code. So let's go ahead and do this one. And see there? It auto-filled the expiration date. And all I have to do is put in my CVV code. Now, no typos. It's a lot quicker. And Monoprice, who, believe me, they're very secure now, is not saving or storing my credit card. Go ahead.
Why didn't you want to use it with PayPal?
No, I do use PayPal.
But you said you didn't want to use
No, I wanted because I wanted to show you the credit card fill-in. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Just this time, I wanted to show you what that screen was like on because you're going to be faced with that once you enter a credit card. And so if I hadn't had a credit card entered there, Safari would have prompted me and said, well, would you like to have Safari save your credit card? And at that time, it'll require your computer to have a password in it.
Well, and you referred to your computer ID and password. You're talking the same as your Apple ID?
No, no.
You want a separate one for each of your devices?
No. So on these devices, you can have it be 4 digits or a password.
That's cool.
And here, it's your login password, as she so aptly stated. It's like when you install new software, or sometimes you have it when you switch users. Some of you have it when you fire up your computer. You have to put that password in. That's the manager's key.
Okay.
That's different than every other password. And to be honest, that one, you could use your same protocol, but you don't necessarily have to put a suffix or a prefix on it. But I just use a very simple password for that.
But once that password is secure, then you can put everything in there and you don't need anything else.
Run that one by me again.
Once the password for your main computer is secure, or once that is secure as far as anybody getting into it.
Yeah, but see mine, I have mine so it automatically logs in not requiring a password. So I'm not as safe that way. But remember on the credit card,
Yeah. It did
I had asked me for my CVV. Okay, so I have to have the credit card present. And when I did my Google Gmail, it asked me for 2-factor authentication.
I have a husband who's sort of new to this stuff, and so he gets really bogged down. I mean,
Oh,
we all get a little
hey,
bogged down.
who here-
Really bogged
Who
down.
here has not been
And so I
problems
tried
with
to teach
passwords?
her
That's
how
why
to
we're all here.
simple story.
Cheryl?
So why do you opt to use PayPal over?
Because, well, now that we have the new password thing, I'm using it less. I just don't want those sites to have my credit card. In fact, because before I used to have predominantly debit cards, and I for sure don't want them to have debit cards because of the lack of protection. But now what I'm doing instead of PayPal, I'm using my credit card more because of the rewards on the credit card rather than that. But I prefer not to have those sites store my credit card. I have no problem with Apple storing my credit card, and I have no problem with Amazon storing my credit card. So, because Amazon doesn't take PayPal. And Amazon's had it for a long time. Amazon's not going to get hacked. I mean, these companies that spend the money it won't happen. So that's Keychain and Keychain in the cloud, and the only difference is Keychain on the cloud allows all your devices to share in the same thing, including the credit card information. That same credit card information, if I went to the same site here, would allow me to enter it here. That's making it so much easier. Yes, it's more convenient, but I argue that having these devices store my credit card is more secure than having Pizza Hut store my credit card.
How did you get the credit card number in there? Did you tell us and I forgot, or did
When you go to you can just enter it in the preferences. So if I go to my preferences in Safari,
How do you
But when you go to a website, the first time you go to a website that has a spot for a credit card, it'll say, hey, we have the ability to store your credit card. Would you like us to? Your device is asking you that, not the website.
Yeah, because I don't ever want stores to sign.
Nope. And then you go in, let's say your credit card expires. You're going to need to go in and manage it. So I'm going to click on Safari. And I'm going to go down to passwords and autofill. And I'm going to go down to credit cards. And then if I tap my credit card, let's see here, my 5526, it's asking me for my, there, and there it is. And I can change the, edit and change the expiration date.
Thank you.
So now my credit card's on the, but the CVV is not stored. So, no, I don't think they'll store that. And when we go to chip and pin, there may be, again, this is still more secure than the stupid magnetic strip because it's the magnet. Ironically, the easy way for restaurants to hack your credit card is they grab your credit card, they take a little piece of paper and rub a pencil over it, and your credit card number is exposed, and then they write down the little number on the back. And now I bring the card back to your table and have you sign for your tip, and boy, I just got my big tip. It's a lot more secure online. Don't be too, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I mean, that's what they all play on, and realistically, you're pretty darn secure. The best recommendation anyone's ever given me is have a separate card you use for all your online that you don't use other places. I take that one step further. If you have a bunch of auto pays set up, have that be on a certain card, because if your card gets compromised at the gas station, going in and changing all those auto pays and everything else, it takes forever. So have your auto pays be a certain credit card, have the credit card you use out somewhere else, and then online. Many of your credit card companies allow you to do what's called a temporary card. They give you essentially a one-time use number that's only used just like your regular credit card number, and it's very secure that way. Visa's starting to do some authentication back and forth and stuff, but if you're concerned, do that. Or, it's like if you're at the shady business place, you go, I don't want them to have my credit card, you pay cash. Well, online, that's a little tough. So you can use other means. A question back there, Carl? No? I asked somebody to remind me about, I wanted to do keychain and keychain in the cloud. Was there one other thing I asked to remind me to cover? Yeah, I'm going to go through that, but what'd you say?
It was the app storing your passwords, the apps that.
Oh, great, thank you. So so you saw earlier how Apple stores your passwords for you and does a good job. It can also create very robust passwords for you. And there are programs that do the same thing. And I'll give you 3 names. One is Dashlane, Dashlane. I know nothing about them. I've heard good reports on them. I think they're fee only. Dashlane. It says it's the world's best password manager, so it must be true because it's on the internet. That's one. 1Password was one that I was kind of gravitating towards, and it seems to be very good. It's been around for a while, if I spell it right. The number 1Password.
It's 1Pass.
Is that its?
It's the number 1 and then password.
Yeah, right here. 1Password from Agile Bits. These guys are great builders of stuff. So that's one also, and it's a pay-for service. But the one that seems to be coming to the top lately is Lastpass. And Lastpass has a free version and a premium version. I think it's $12 a year if you decide to use it. But I would, like anything else, making a new password and doing those kinds of things, the time invested will manifest itself over time. I'm not convinced that I want to invest the time in these things because Apple is curing it in the near future. And to be honest, how bad do we need a password manager if we have a manageable password? And you can use your passwords, or you can have it make up the very long secure passwords. But again, the warning on that is that's a password that if you're on a new device or something else, you may have trouble with it. I will tell you that since you're on a Macintosh and or an iOS device, when you get a new device and you migrate your data over, all your stuff comes with it. So it's not like, the only one you're going to have to remember is your Apple ID password and the password you make for the device. Because all that stuff will migrate over from the other device. Keith, you had a question?
I use iPassword, and you said it's a subscription. It's not for me. I bought the application.
No, it's a pay for. It's on a, no. LastPass can be, you use 1Password, right?
Yes.
Yeah, 1Password is you pay for the app on the iOS device and you pay for the app on your Mac, you pay one time.
Yeah.
Okay, LastPass is free. If you want some other doohickeys, it's a subscription per year. And Dashlane, I think, is a one-time pay for. So you're correct on that.
But I really like OnePassword.
Yeah. And again, I think it takes a little setting up, and it's very good and it's very secure. Just don't lose your password to that. But you know what? They're working on now. They have two-factor authentication too. So remember, you're not stuck if you lose your password. FileVault in the Mac used to be like if you lost your password, you'd lose all your files. So. Actually, lost your files, everything else. Who here is on a PC, not a Mac, besides Mary? She has to for work. Okay. Please be careful with phishing schemes. Phishing with a PH. There is one going out where they will call you out of the blue and say, we're from Microsoft and we're getting a bunch of errors. And we've found that your computer is really messing up and it's infecting other people. We need to fix that. And they get in and they share your screen, very similar to how I share your screen with TeamViewer. And they go in and they can plant viruses. One thing they can do is, if they try to get into your email, don't let them. I mean, have it be a trusted person to get into your email if you need to reset passwords on a screen share or something. Because remember, the passwords are the keys to the kingdom. And they go in and they say, well, and they bring up this screen with all these errors on it. Well, every computer, I can make this screen show that I've got a bunch of errors going on. I mean, errors happen all the time, but it's nothing dramatic. So they say, well, we can fix this. Okay, we go in, they install it, they clean it up. They say your computer's going to run faster. You rub your tummy and pat your head and say, Allah, boom, bing, it does it. Well, they've probably done one of three things. They just harvested your credit card because you paid them $39 to do this, or you paid them $89 to do it. That's probably, if you paid $39, they're going to get you later. If you paid $89, but they now have your credit card number. The other thing they may plan is what's called ransomware. And actually, ransomware just had one. A guy just called up on the Clark Howard show. He's saying, I just got this screen on here that says, on his work computer, that says, this is the FBI. It shows their logo and everything. And we see you've been going to kiddie porn sites. Oh, that'll make you wake up on a heartbeat. No, I haven't, really. And you going to be fined, or, well, you need to send us this amount of money. And anyway, ransomware is where it goes in. And it's only on a PC, can't do it on a Mac. They lock it up, and they say, if you don't pay us X amount of dollars within a certain amount of time, we'll kill the baby. No, what they'll do is, we won't let you get in and get any of your information. And believe me, it's locked solid. You can't get in and get your information. Nobody can break through it. You have to pay them the ransom. And once they're satisfied with that, do you think that they may go away? Who knows? It's pretty lucrative, isn't it? So, first of all, have a great backup. Second of all, be very hypochondriac when you're on a PC. You have to be. Best practices on a PC is don't log in as a system administrator. Log in as a separate user, because then anything it does requires the system administrator's approval, which would be you. And run Google Chrome and not Explorer, because it's less vulnerable. But that phone call comes to the Mac users. Should you be worried? Only if you let them share your screen, and the best thing you say is, ha, I know that's not true. I'm on a Mac, and they'll hang up right then. Because they didn't find the honeypot by calling you. There are people that don't have computers that get that call. How many times have you gotten an email that says, this is Citibank, and we've had a security audit, and you need to go in and change it? But I don't have a Citibank card. So that's an easy thing to go away from, but that's what it is. That's what they call it, a phishing scheme. They're casting a net out, trying to capture everybody, and they get a couple. Looking for...
Just looking, thank you.
Oh, no, come on in if you'd like.
Okay.
MacKeeper is one of those, isn't it?
Oh, God, MacKeeper. No, MacKeeper's not a virus. It just acts like it. MacKeeper you don't need.
Yeah, I know.
Their ads are everywhere, and the reason their ads are everywhere is because a lot of you click on them and buy them. It happens. There's nothing MacKeeper can do for your computer that it doesn't do on its own. I won't say it's bad. It runs behind this. I mean, I won't say it's vicious like a virus. It runs behind the scenes, but all they're trying to do is get money off you. They're saying, hey, I'll make, it's the same people that are selling you the diet pills or whatever it is. It's just, yeah, hey, look at our things. It works great, but
It just pops up all the time.
it's a pop-up, and unfortunately it gets around Apple's pop-ups.
Oh.
You know what? It happens. And now it starts making noise. Now it starts saying things. It's like, go away. I mean, I have to say that's why I only recently started using Netflix, because I used to hate that Netflix did pop-up ads. I vow never to support anybody that does pop-up ads like that. But they do it because they make money off of it. Same as those other fishers.
Do you use the extension AdBlock to block ads?
Nope.
Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, but I don't use it. I don't use any extensions because they slow everything down. And you know what? I have an ad block. But let me show you a way, and you're talking about on your Mac? So watch this. So Yahoo is the biggest violator of all. I mean, they have the most ads everywhere. That's why Yahoo is really a slow page, yahoo.com. So let's go to yahoo.com and all this crap on the side, right? So let's go here. Ooh, fashion show sweeps into... Thanks. So I click on that. So I click on their little... Oh, great, Yahoo. You can't even serve up your own article. Hello. Okay, baby daddy's new girlfriend takes on motherly role. Okay, that's what we all wanted to find out about.
What website is this now?
Yahoo News! Or who knew? Baby daddy. Okay, well, forget the article, but look at all this. Look at all this crap that gets served up on the side here, right? Well, they blocked Reader. Jesus. Yahoo, you're so bad. So let me go to CNN.com. I should have used the example I always use. So I go to CNN.com. And, they have a right to make money. And there's some this week. And, some of these things are ads. Sometimes these links that you think, these really neat articles they talk about. Oh, watch this person do this amazing feat. And half the time it's serving up an ad. But if I go to CNN.com, you'll notice there's this reader button over here is not activated. Okay? But let's go to one of the articles. Woman felt guilty, likely say, okay. So she spotted teen at storage locker. Okay. But now look at what happens here. So here's the article. My video will begin momentarily. I don't want the video. I don't care about the video. I just want to read the story. So I go up here where it says reader, and look I can click on this, and I get the clean, unadulterated version of that article. Reader was not available on the main CNN site because it's a list, like a table of contents of the articles, but once I drove down to the article, most of the time, it'll do that. Tip of the day. Anybody here go to sacb.com?
Yeah.
Watch. This will be worth the price of admission. So I think they should be able to do their ads. They have these drop-down ads and all this other stuff. But look what happens when I click on one of these articles. I hope it'll do it to me here. Oh, advertisement. Okay, I don't mind that. I'll get rid of that. But what I don't like is, after you go to too many, look at this. Now, if you're a subscriber to the Bee, you can sign into their digital thing. I think the Bee should be able to make money. They make money by having me look at the ads, right? Because the newspaper, when you buy the newspaper, you're paying for the distribution. You're not really paying for the newspaper. You're paying for just the distribution. But look at this. This article won't let me see it, right? And look what happens when I hit close. it goes back to the main page. Ah, crap, I really wanted to read that article, unit protest or whatever. Oh, man, okay, I want to read the article. Ah, dang. Look at this. I didn't tell you to cheat. I didn't tell you not to get them money. Really, I didn't. On the recording, I didn't. So let's go to the iPad. And now in round 2, we've got the iPad. So first we'll go to CNN.com. So I go to CNN.com, and I will go to the woman felt guilty again, and I hit that see spotted teen. And then we got the video and all this other stuff. And then look in the upper left, it's a little different. In the older version of the iOS and 6 it did. Look at these little lines right here. It gets better. SACB does the same thing, okay? Let's go to the iPhone. Because I do a lot while I'm driving. I can now text.
Oh, that makes us all feel good.
I don't touch my phone. I use Siri.
Oh, okay.
I don't touch my phone. I tap one little button on my dash, and it says, and I send an email or send a text message. I can tell it to read me my receipt, text message, etc. But let's go to Safari. We'll go to CNN. And I'm going to go, see, I wish I could get rid of this little app thing. No, you can't. So I'm going to click on Woman Feels Guilty. Boom, so we keep the same thing.
Yeah,
and
it's her gut feeling. She's not guilty. She saved that.
Oh, women's gut feeling likely saved lives. Okay, sorry, I missed it. So now, there's the article, right? Oh, the same thing in the upper left, the little lines. Same thing is on the iPad. I have to wait for it to load to get there. So now I click on those, and now watch this. Oh, come on, don't. There we go. I'll just be short.
Her instincts were right. Behind the door were bomb-making materials. Police in Waseesa, Minnesota, said Thursday. Her call quoted a cunningly planned gun and bomb attack at a school, they say.
I highlighted it like I was going to copy and paste, and then speak is an option. So let's go back to Safari on our Mac. Control.
What were you hitting? Control what?
Drinking party promoted by employees of the student-run
Control
coffee house at UC Davis has roiled
Voice was
the
better on
campus,
here, wasn't it?
threatening to ignite racial tensions even as the university ramps up admission for minorities and international students.
I think I'll have him back at some time, but those of you that were good enough to see the presentation a little over a year ago, I have a gentleman that's from the Sacramento Society of the Blind. He's the senior director. He can operate his iPhone as well as I can, and he's blind. There's other things it can do with it. So, you know, this just points out there's so much embedded in this technology, and Apple's not really great about tooting its own horn and telling us what's there. So, any questions on passwords before I move into the iPhone plans? And I want to just hit on them briefly. And I don't want to go into too much detail because they change daily. So, password questions? Okay. Again, the password ones are up here. I think it's a commitment that you. I'm not. If I were going to do one right now, I'd do Lastpass. I think. I really like 1Password. It seems to be a good player for the Mac and everything else. But I like that Lastpass gives me a free option or $12. I don't like monthly services like that. I just really think Apple's solution is going to be what it is going forward. So let me get rid of this page. And so iPhone. So who here doesn't have an iPhone at this point? Okay. Are you contemplating, who isn't contemplating getting one? Okay. I'm curious, actually, reasons. Don't feel you need it, don't use your phone very much?
And I have 2 iPads.
You have 2 iPads? Great. And then your phone is a phone, and then your iPad does everything else the iPhone would do.
Yeah.
And yours? Okay, so you got a smartphone on that. So, and Keith still lets you visit?
It is intention.
You don't want to stop.
Well, you're essentially using an iPhone because they copied everything.
No, at least I have it as a long street.
Yeah, and would you be, so tell me this, would you be, and now that you've used the Samsung, and I mean, I'm not saying anything wrong, is that the big screen, if Apple had had a big screen, would you have considered it?
Because it doesn't have the digitization. This is a note. Specifically because it's the house.
There's some apps that do that, though, on the
You
iPhone.
can't without a digitizer. It's got to have the underlying hardware.
Okay, that makes sense. And you do drawing with it, a lot of drawing?
Right on the screen.
Okay.
I don't have one because I don't know how to use it.
Okay, that's a good, she doesn't know how to use it. Anybody else was faced with that dilemma, and if you found out that it's pretty darn easy to use?
What was that?
She doesn't have one because she doesn't know how to use it.
Oh.
So, and that, I mean, that's totally valid. It's easier than you would think, and the funny thing is that if you just want to make phone calls, it's probably the easiest phone to use in that regard. But it does a lot of other stuff. But the only problem with the iPhone 2 is you have to have an ongoing monthly plan to make it, as a phone, it's a phone. But from day one, when this was introduced on my birthday in January 9th, 2007, it's a computer that happens to make phone calls. It does more than my laptop can. I have an accelerometer in it. I have a GPS. I have all of that. I don't have that in my laptop. And now I have Siri. And Siri rocks. I mean, seriously, it's amazing what Siri can do. And it's really well, the 4S has Siri. Siri started in the 4S. So if you have a 4 or older, you're probably getting due for one. You can usually sell your iPhone. But the thing is, the way it used to work in the environment was you would pay AT&T or Verizon, AT&T in the beginning for the first 2 years, $199, and you had to sign a 2-year contract with them. Because they paid $650 for that phone. And those of you that get surprised with an over $50 sales tax on it, know they paid $650 for the phone because you pay the $199 plus the tax on $650, and I'll put the caveat in there, unless you buy it from Walmart. Somehow, they only charge tax on the $199. So I just saved you $40. But, and I don't know why that is, but hey. Anyway, but what's happened now is, and over time, you actually pay for that $650 in the phone because you're paying for a pretty expensive plan. Verizon has AT&T smartened up a while back. AT&T spun off another carrier called AIO Wireless. Verizon is now making some other pricing plans available. The new players, Sprint and T-Mobile, have been out there for a while now. They're the second-tier companies, and they have some aggressive plans. But what happens now is, and I don't think this is going to help Apple's situation. Well, Apple's so beleaguered; they just don't make any money at all. You know, they just had a record quarter, but and I'm a stockholder, so I got to be careful. But I think what's happened is the subsidized phone plan has worked well. That got people into this. Apple is never going to produce a very inexpensive phone, nor should they, because just like computers, there's a race to the bottom, and it's all price-based. It's not feature-based, and it's not quality-based. So why should they rush to get into that? Because if somebody undercuts you by $2, you lose that sale. Why give up that margin? When, believe me, the first day they introduce the phone, they sell 10 million the first weekend, okay? They're not having a problem. Their biggest problem is not being able to make enough of them. It's not that they can't sell them. So I think, though, this model of subsidized phones is really taking a big shift. And the U.S. is really the only place where that has happened dramatically. But I have to say, thank goodness it was there, because when the very first iPhone was introduced, and they brought it out June 29th of 2007, You could buy the phone for $199 and get a 2-year. Well, actually, I take that back. It was $699 in the beginning. But anyway, essentially, it was a subsidized model, and you paid over time. And at that time, you only had a couple choices on carriers. So the new thing is you buy the phone outright, and then you can pick your carrier. You can get iPhone plans for as little as $30 a month, but you're going to pay full price for your phone. So I actually prefer that because it saves you the price of the phone again overall, but also just like we talked about being on Gmail instead of Comcast or AT&T, you're a free agent. You can go to anywhere you want. You're not necessarily under contract. I'm still with AT&T because I have one of the original grandfathered in unlimited plans. And I'm stupid, but I'm on it. And anyway, there's a ton of changes, and I think you guys need to be aware of it because we'll probably have a new iPhone out in September or October. Indications are it'll be a 4.7-inch screen, a little not quite the 5-inch that the Note is, but it's pretty close. There were rumors of a 5.5-inch screen, but it turns out they don't really think that's it. Apple, like we talked in the beginning, was the thumb span of the thing. I think what they'll do is the phone won't be tremendously larger than this because what they're going to do is probably move it so the bezel, the edge around the phone, will be much smaller. It'll probably even go right to the edge. So therefore, you'll be able to, the screen will be larger without the case being a lot larger. And it looks like it's super thin are the early indications. Will the iPhone 5S all of a sudden be a bad phone? Nope. But by fully buying your phone, you also can resell your phone. I get a new phone every year. Actually, the way I have it on AT&T, my mom and I are on a family plan. She has a special SOS phone that I got for her that she presses a button and it becomes a speaker phone and calls 911. And there's no monthly, it's just a regular cell phone the rest of the time. But I flip-flop. I get a new phone every year because her line's up for an upgrade every other year. Mine's up for an upgrade every other year. And I sell my new phone, I sell my old phone for more than I buy the new phone for. Because people still, because the value of the phone, because they want to buy a phone non-contract. So generally speaking, I mean, this phone right now, an iPhone 5S, 32 gigabyte, I can probably sell for close to $400. So, because people want to buy them without plans. So they hold their value, and when you look over time, that kind of makes up for that. If you pay full price for the phone, $650, and then it degrades down, you lose that $200 kind of along the way.
Where would you sell it?
Gazelle.com is a great one, but usually you can find somebody locally that would want it. Craigslist is kind of, I wouldn't recommend buying phones on Craigslist because if they're water damaged or anything. But what I also do is I get my phone with AppleCare on it, which has a 2-year warranty rather than the original 1 year. I pay $99 extra for it, and for me it makes my phone more sellable at the end. Because
Apple will buy them back.
yeah, Apple will buy them back, Radio Shack, all those places. But if you sell to someone direct, you'll get a little better deal on it. But that being said, that's why you're probably better off upgrading your phone every 2 years because after 2 years, the value of your phone drops off dramatically. Where in the first year, it holds its value great, then it drops off a bit, and then more. So it's expensive, but when you think about what's going on in here, I mean, who would have thought years ago that you would sell a phone for $650? And why is the iPhone more expensive than the iPad? Because it's got all that cellular technology and that chip in there and stuff. So this is a website I found that's Buy iPhone 5, and it talks about some different plans. It doesn't have all of them. But what I would recommend is things are changing dramatically all the time. You can get the Virgin Mobile for $30 a month. You get like 100 cellular minutes, and then because a lot of people in our generation are still calling a lot, but most people aren't calling anymore. So a lot of the carriers are giving away the minutes because nobody's calling. What they're charging you for is the data.
What about the coverage?
The coverage, okay, great question. What about the coverage? Well, years ago when I did the iPhone classes, it was like Verizon and AT&T. And it would say, well, Verizon, because of their network, has great coverage. But the way that their network is set up, you can't make phone calls and talk at the same time because it's one or the other. But what happens if you're on a website and the call comes in, it'll interrupt the website and bring you in. And if you're on AT&T, you just can't make phone calls at all because of the coverage. Nobody got that. You just can't make phone calls at all because AT&T has really bad coverage. Verizon has great coverage. There are some unique situations where AT&T will give you better coverage than Verizon, but overall, Verizon has the best coverage. T-Mobile is got fairly good coverage, and they're hit or miss. What you do is you go to their websites and just look where the coverage maps look like and go to where you're going all the time. It's becoming less and less of an issue as they're all moving to what's called LTE, and as soon as that happens, they'll all be on the same plane, and I think you'll have pretty darn good coverage. But my good friends live up near Grants Pass, and out where they are, I get pretty bad coverage, and they're on Sprint, and they get pretty good coverage. And generally speaking, their Sprint coverage wasn't quite as good. I have a friend in Arizona. When they're in Mesa, one phone company, Verizon's great coverage, but when they're up in the hills, it's AT&T and no Verizon. So it just kind of varies. But then what happens is you have all these other carriers like Virgin Mobile. You'll hear about Metro PCS. You'll hear about these others. They're what they call MVNOs, Mobile Virtual Network Operators. They do not own the towers. They buy minutes from AT&T or T-Mobile or Verizon or Sprint. But I want to point out one thing is, does anybody want a phone with free service?
No.
Okay, I won't show you then. Freedom Pop. Freedom Pop, I've been doing betas for them for a long time. I was their beta for their little hotspots. It's freedompop.com. Their website's terrible. I didn't even bring it up. But you can get an iPhone with free, so you buy the phone. Let's read it here. So you get 200 minutes, 500 texts, and a half a gig of data per month. For free. They want you to go ahead. Let's see, unlimited annual. Oh, $667 a month, saying the best, unlimited annual. Basic monthly, 0. 200 texts, unlimited monthly. Oh, free trial. Yeah, it's like $20 for the, let's see, because you can add more data to it. I actually got this for my mom's home internet. They had a Freedom Pop you put right on there, and it was free all the time, but then she had a caregiver come and used a lot of internet, so we had to pay $20 a month to up it to 20 gigabytes. But there it is. So yeah, unlimited annual. Oh, another one that's out that Clark Howard's really big on, Republic Wireless. $25 a month, unlimited. But you're not going to get an iPhone on it yet. So, and believe me, I mean, it's the best phone ever. Freedom Pop with the iPhone is pretty cool. They're using the Sprint network. So if you have good coverage with Sprint, Freedom Pop will work. If you don't have good coverage with Sprint, it won't. Go ahead.
When you're using Siri, does that charge against your data?
So the question was, when you're using Siri, does it charge against your data? Yes, if you're out and about, but like here where we're on Wi-Fi, so when you're out and about, your data is being used, whether you use Siri or surf the internet. When you're on Wi-Fi, it doesn't use your cellular data, you're using your home. But Siri does, and it uses a minimal amount. Why don't I go ahead in and let's look at how much Siri, and I use Siri a lot, so I can go in and show you how much Siri is using on my cellular. Because it's the way Siri works is it records what you say, sends it out over the internet, and sends you back text of what it is. And to be honest,
what did you hit there? Oh, usage. Okay.
Settings, usage, and it's going to take a while to fill in. So I'll answer another question while it's filling. Go ahead.
So do you have any recommendation for international, like plans?
You should do it as often as possible.
Yes, I mean, in terms of.
So it's not just plans, it's also the device. So if we think about this for a second, when I go to AT&T and get this phone, when I first get it and I'm on a plan, it's locked to AT&T unless I pay full price to the phone. So to travel internationally, I can't just pop in a SIM card internationally. I have to buy their AT&T plan. Now, after you've gone far enough into your contract, they'll unlock your phone. So if you're traveling for a month in Brazil, let's say, you can go down there and get one of their phone carriers' cards and put in here. Now, to call back to the States would be a long-distance call, but within Brazil, your data and everything, and it's very reasonable. The best phone to travel internationally is a Verizon phone 5 or newer, 5 or 5S, because it has all the radio frequencies you need for all the world, and it comes unlocked. So, but if you're paying full price for a phone, you're probably going to get it unlocked anyway now, because that was the whole deal. Is they wanted to make sure I didn't take this phone away from AT&T and go to T-Mobile, because I have to complete my contract. And believe me, those early termination fees are $375. T-Mobile is saying they'll bring your phone over here. We'll give you a trade-in. You'll get a new phone, and we'll pay your early termination fees. Hey, I can be bribed. And I got to admit, okay, so T-Mobile. So actually, while this is still loading, deal of the day, I hope it's still there. I didn't need the new iPad Retina. I had the iPad, the regular mini. I had the regular mini. But they had a deal where I could get the cellular version. It's usually $130 more for the same price as the Wi-Fi version. So I went over to T-Mobile, and they said, well, and you can get a data plan, 1 gigabyte a month for $10. I said, fine. And it's automatically paying it monthly right into it. I didn't even have to pay for it up front. But if I decide to cancel the $10 a month service, then I just pay it off. And but no extra fees or anything else. And the other thing is T-Mobile, if you have an iPad that has cellular, so you have the Wi-Fi only version, and you have a Wi-Fi and cellular version, you can go to T-Mobile, and for $10 for the SIM card, you get 200 megabytes a month for free. No account, nothing. They don't even do a credit check. So you can always have your iPad on. That's not a lot of data. Oh, you know what? I'll bet it's down in system. I saw this before. Oh, I have like way too many apps, sorry.
So I have an iPad 2, and it's AT&T, but my phone's with Verizon, so I'm kind of...
Your iPad 2, and it has a... Yeah, you don't have to have the same carrier for both.
Right, but there's no real deal if I wanted to travel with my iPad through...
Well, so if you with your travel with your iPad, you just look for internet hotspots is what you do.
Well, yeah, we're not always at places like that.
Yeah, then what you do is iPads are all unlocked, so you simply get the SIM card for where you are. You know, I'm going to have to find this usage. Oh, here, usage. That's not the one, though. I want cellular usage. Hang on here.
There's cellular up the top.
Thank you. Here it is. This is it down to Siri. At least it's alphabetical. So I reset mine once a month, so my stats would only be for the last month. And Siri's not on there. I'll have to find it because I saw it was on here. It's really not a ton of data. All right, I'll stop the recording, and don't forget, you guys can go get the recording. It's free.
Very, very on this program at Freedom Hop.